All right, this is Consciousness, Section C lecture. Our prioritized standard is 7a and b. Objectively, we're going to analyze the role and function of dreaming and the role of sleep disorders. The experience of dreaming is a collection of images, ideas, impressions, events, emotions, and sensations that usually occur involuntarily in the mind during certain stages of sleep. Dreams can run the gamut. They could be funny, frightening, sad, or just really strange. So dreams can be all kinds of things, as hopefully you know. While most dreams are considered ordinary dreams, some experience what are called lucid dreams. Now, lucid dreams are dreams in which certain aspects of wakefulness are maintained during a dream state. So, in a lucid dream, and possibly you've had these before, a person actually becomes aware of the fact that they are dreaming and can thus control the dream's content. It can also be common for people to experience nightmares, yet some people suffer from certain sleeping disorders that actually impact dreaming. We'll talk about sleeping disorders briefly. While all people dream during sleep, the question of the meaning behind dreams has varied across different cultures and periods of time. During the late 19th century, German psychiatrist Sigmund Freud was convinced that dreams represented an opportunity to gain access to the unconscious mind, applying a psychodynamic approach to explaining the meaning behind dreams. By analyzing dreams, Freud thought people could increase their self-awareness and gain valuable insight to help them deal with problems they faced in their lives. In Freud's dream analysis, the thought that the manifest content, which is the actual content or storyline of a dream. So if you have a dream, you're like, man, it was weird. I was falling. I was being chased. I was naked in public. I was flying. I was losing my teeth. I failed the test. So the storyline is the manifest content. He said this was actually far less important than the latent content, which what he said was the hidden meaning of a dream. So Freud actually believed that everything in a dream really represented something in your unconscious mind. Freud believed that dreams were generally unconscious and unresolved desires. It's like a lot of Freud thought everything was sexual, for being perfectly honest. So, like as for instance, if you dream you're falling, that usually means something in your life is not going well. If you're being chased, that usually means you're trying to avoid something in your daily life. If you're naked in public, that means you feel like a phony. If you're flying, it means you're expressing a desire for freedom from social norms and restraints. If you're losing your teeth, it means you're losing your ability to be assertive, decisive, and self-protected. If you are failing a test, it means you're feeling unprepared for the challenges of life. So essentially, Freud had an idea that everything represented something else. There are books if you're interested in seeing what everything in a dream is supposed to represent. Not everybody agrees with this, but such is Freud. In the 20th century, Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, I know it looks like Jung, but it's Jung, believed that dreams served as a bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind, and believed dreams allowed us to tap into what he called the collective unconscious. Now, the collective unconscious is a theoretical repository, or like a storage place, of information believed to be shared by everyone. Jung believed that certain symbols in dreams reflected universal archetypes, with meanings similar regardless of one culture or location. Jung believed dreams served as a tool to help people come up with solutions to the problems they encountered in their conscious state of mind. Neuroscientist Alan Hobson, and with Robert McCarley, helped him on this one, did not agree with the idea that dreams represent meaning-filled representations of the unconscious, like Freud or Jung would, but have rather proposed the activation synthesis theory of dreaming that says dreams are the result of our brain attempting to make sense of the neural activity that takes place during REM sleep. So the pons in the brainstem actually send random signals to the upper part of the brain during REM sleep. These random signals pass through the thalamus, which sends the signals to the proper sensory areas of the cerebral cortex. Once in the cerebral cortex, the association areas of the cortex respond to the random activations of these cortical cells by synthesizing or making up a story or a dream using the bits and pieces of life experiences and memories that they already have. So the self organization theory of dreaming, which was also developed by Hobson, although Kahn helped him on this one, explains dreaming as a side effect of brain neural activity, as memories are consolidated during sleep. You probably remember the consolidation when we talked about memory. So, building off the information processing model of memory, this theory suggests that the act of sleeping allows people to consolidate and process all of the information and memories they have collected during the day. So, while we dream, helpful memories are made stronger, while less useful ones generally fade away. So, dreaming is thus a byproduct or even an active part of this experience of information processing. Now, some support the idea of a creativity theory of dreaming, which says that during dreaming, the unconstrained, unconscious mind is free to explore its limitless potential, being unburdened by the realities of the conscious world. So, if you can tap into your dreams, you can tap into your own creativity, would be the theory of this one. Now, many people experience disturbances in their sleep at some point in their lives, with a sizable percentage even suffering from what are called sleep disorders, which involve problems with the quality, timing, and the amount of time that can interfere with normal psychological and physiological functioning. Now, insomnia is a consistent difficulty in staying asleep, or getting a good quality of sleep, which is the most common type of sleep disorder. Those suffering from insomnia experience these symptoms for at least 3 nights a week for at least 1 month's time. Now, chronic insomnia is almost always associated with feeling overtired, potentially symptoms of depression, and increased anxiety relating to their inability to fall asleep, which can then become a self-perpetuating cycle because the increased anxiety led to increased arousal, and higher levels of arousal thus interferes with their ability to sleep. Those suffering from insomnia should limit the use of stimulant drugs like caffeine and or increase the amount of physical exercise during the day. Yet some take over-the-counter or prescribed sleep medications. Some take melatonin, as for instance. Parasomnias is a group of sleep disorders in which unwanted, disruptive motor activity and or experiences take place during sleep. This would be things like sleepwalking, REM sleep behavior disorder, restless leg syndrome, and also night terrors. So sleepwalking, this is an episode of moving around or walking around in one's sleep, which occurs during deep sleep and is also more common among children. Now, the behaviors can range from wandering around to driving an automobile. Now, during sleepwalking, most have their eyes open, but they are not actually responsive to attempts to communicate with them. Let me see. We can also have REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD, which occurs when the muscle paralysis that's associated with REM sleep does not actually occur, which allows the person to thrash around or even get up and act out nightmares while they are asleep. Behaviors vary widely, but can include things like kicking, punching, scratching, yelling, and behaving like they were an animal that had been frightened or attacked. So just a lot of movement. Those suffering from this disorder can injure themselves or their sleeping partners. These behaviors disrupt sleep, but those affected often actually have no memories that these behaviors actually occurred when they were asleep. You can also have restless leg syndrome. So with restless leg syndrome, they experience uncomfortable sensations in the legs during periods of inactivity and when trying to fall asleep. So the discomfort is actually relieved by deliberately moving the legs, which contributes to difficulty in falling or possibly staying asleep. because they, again, feel like they have to move the legs. Night terrors, which people commonly confuse with nightmares. This results in the person experiencing extreme fear and then screams or runs in an attempt to escape from their surroundings during deep sleep. Now, while sufferers appear to be awake, they generally have no memories of the events that actually occur during a night terror, and attempts to console them are going to be completely ineffective. Now, these night terror episodes are generally relatively short. Now, sleep apnea. This is a sleep disorder in which a sleeper's breathing stops while asleep for episodes of between 10 to 20 seconds or possibly longer, and is often associated with brief periods of arousal. Sufferers are often unaware of these repeated disruptions in sleep, although it leads to increased levels of fatigue for them, even though they aren't aware of it. And they're often diagnosed after seeking treatment due to sleeping partners' concerns. So, like when their partners indicate that, hey, you were snoring very loudly, and or hey, I think you stopped breathing for a period of time last night when you were sleeping. Now, sleep apnea is actually more common in overweight people and is usually associated with loud snoring. A common treatment for sleep apnea is a continuous positive airway pressure or CPAP device. Now, that is a mask that actually fits over the sleeper's nose and mouth that is connected to a pump that forces the airways to remain open. Now, those suffering from the sleep disorder of narcolepsy cannot actually resist falling asleep at inopportune times. Sleep episodes associated with narcolepsy can see a lack of muscle tone or muscle weakness, and in some cause them to have complete paralysis of the voluntary muscles. So this paralysis is going to be similar to what's experienced by healthy individuals when they are in REM sleep. Narcolepsy can be triggered by states of heightened arousal or stress, with the typical episode lasting from a few minutes to half an hour. After feeling awakened from a narcoleptic attack, people actually often report feeling refreshed. Regular narcoleptic episodes interfere with the ability to perform several everyday tasks, like performing a job, completing schoolwork, and resulting in significant harm and injury, especially if they were doing something like driving a car or operating machinery at the time of a narcoleptic episode. All right, that concludes Consciousness, Section C lecture. Our prioritized standards, this time were 7A and B. Objectively, now I can analyze the role and function of dreaming and the role of sleep disorders.